Let's bring in Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Senator, it's really good to have you with us tonight. Obviously, you're right there on the Senate floor. You were debating earlier. This is going to be an interesting week of debate, no question about it. But I'm going to kind of cut right to the chase. At the end of it all, unless you get rid of the filibuster, you got to have 60 votes to get this thing to President Trump for his signature. Is there any possible world where you're going to persuade some of your Democrat colleagues to come along and vote for this thing?
I mean, we're going to find out. But I would say there's actually two ways to do it. One is the just automatic 60-vote threshold that everybody's pretty familiar with. But what most people actually think the Senate does when a filibuster is something akin to Mr. Smith went to Washington, right? Where you actually have to hold the Senate floor and you engage in the debate. And the old line is the Senate operates either by unanimous consent or exhaustion. So for my money, what I'd like to be able to do is we just stay on this thing and exhaust out the Democrats and get to a vote. That's well within our rules. So that's when people talk about the talking filibuster, what's on the line there. But I just think it's also worth remembering what these issues are. This is about only Americans voting in American elections, showing an ID, making sure we're not mutilating our kids through transgender surgery, making sure men are not competing with women in women's sports. The exercise of the Democrats trying to defend that is defining, I think, as we approach the midterms, because they're on the wrong side of these issues. And I think part of what we should be doing is outlining what we're for and do everything we can do to get it done.
Senator, but the expectation, certainly from Chad Pergram, our terrific reporter on the news channel,
Chad's great,
is that John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, will expect Thune to eventually end debate on the SAVED Act, which requires 60 yea votes to end debate and invoke cloture, which the Republicans at this point lack, which would essentially shelve this piece of legislation. And there is the urgency of moving on to the confirmation of current Senator Markwayne Mullin as head of the Department of Homeland Security. And there's potential movement on funding for the reopening, the partial shutdown, funding for the Department of Homeland Security and getting people paid, particularly those TSA agents. At least there's movement there. It only involves Republicans at this point.
Yeah, but we can do all those. We can still do those things. Markwayne Mullin's confirmation vote on the Senate floor is still a couple weeks out. His hearing is in the committee is this week, but his confirmation vote's probably, at least a week out. And we ought to be spending that time again, talking about these important issues. I think we should go. I think we should try. I just think people expect us to fight like hell for the things that they sent us here to do. Securing our elections, protecting the vote, I think is critical. Protecting women from being, sort of disenfranchised in the way that they are with not being able to compete with men in sports. I mean, we should be able to have women's sports without men pretending to be women, and we should also protect our kids. Again, we have to fight on these issues. People expect us to do it. I think for far too long, people have grown accustomed to this sort of sleepy Washington where everybody pats themselves on the back. That's not why I came here. I came here as an attorney general in Missouri who fought back against the Biden administration on a mission to change the way that people see their government. And part of that is earning their trust by fighting for things like this, secure elections.
Look, they're 80-20 issue. I'm with you on that one. I think a lot of Americans agree with you on it, but it's your colleagues in the Senate who don't seem to want to go along with where America is on these things. I guess we'll see what happens during the debate. I want to ask you, too, about the DHS funding. Democrats came back. They want to do this piecemeal thing, okay? Like get TSA done, get FEMA done, right? But not touch Customs and Border Protection. Don't touch ICE. That's where they are. You're on the other side, which is just do the whole thing together. Is there going to be some meeting of the minds on that thing?
Well, look, we're not going to allow the Democrats to kneecap ICE from doing their jobs. That's what this whole thing is about. Everything else is window dressing. What they really are mad about is that President Trump ran on the idea that 15 million people came here illegally and we need to deport folks. They don't like that. So what they want to do is make enforcement of those laws impossible by defunding ICE. They're not bashful about it. It's the same party who said they wanted to defund the police. Now it's defund ICE. We're not going to let them do that. Meanwhile, they're holding hostage the Department of Homeland Security when we see all these threats and terrorist attacks here in the homeland. So the Democrats are wrong on this. I don't think we should give them a win on ICE being defunded, but I do think we should make sure that we fund TSA. We should fund the Secret Service, the Coast Guard. This is a Democrat exclusively a Democrat issue where they are holding everything hostage. Republicans have voted time and time again to fund DHS. I mean, that's the right thing to do. And now you have TSA agents who are missing 2 paychecks, members of the Coast Guard missing 2 paychecks. Most people in real America can't afford to do that. And the Democrats, again, are just playing politics because of Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, I just want to point out, and I mentioned this in my question to you, this was movement by the White House, by Tom Homan and Blair to Republican senators. Again, the Democrats aren't doing anything but not paying people and putting our nation and our citizens at risk, Senator. Final word.
They just want chaos. They're more interested in defunding ICE than they are funding Homeland Security in this country, and it's a tragedy.
Senator Eric Schmitt, really good to see you tonight. Thanks for taking some time to join us.
Anytime.
All right.
President Trump